Hi. Today we are going to be talking about a lot of hectic, potentially stress-inducing realities about clutter, which is why today's sponsor, the Ridge wallet, fits perfectly with the subject matter. Because, my friends, my gaming backlog is not the only thing in my life that is out of control. In the past, my wallet and keys have felt like an absolute crisis. Cash, cards, receipts, keychains, keys to my grandparents' house that I got back in 2007. I used to feel like a janitor with a textbook in his back pocket until I discovered the Ridge wallet and key case. I've been using the Ridge wallet for around 5 months now, and I simply love the minimalist finish, the way my cards slide seamlessly in and out, and frankly, the total lack of feeling as though I'm carrying around a ham sandwich. It holds up to a dozen cards, plus room for cash, comes with a lifetime warranty, and much like the Ridge key case, is available in a variety of colors and styles. The key case, by the way, has been a delight. It took what formerly felt like a chandelier of scrap metal and turned it into something sleek that fits snugly in the palm of my hand. If you're ready to declutter and add some elegant simplicity to the items that you'll be using literally on an everyday basis, don't miss out on up to 40% savings through December 22nd by going to ridge.com/DarylTalksGames. The holidays are right around the corner, and the Ridge has a lot more to offer than just what I've talked about here. That's ridge.com/DarylTalksGames. Thanks again to the Ridge for sponsoring, and without further ado, let's start the show. Since the dawn of humanity, mankind has had a natural talent for a great many things. We are infinitely expressive through art, music, and literature. We boast unparalleled athletic potential and mental determination. Historically, our scientific innovation has led to remarkable achievements. We put a man on the moon and the moon on a pie. The human race is impressive in many ways. In other ways, not so much, like plugging in a USB cable correctly on the first try without having to flip it, exerting self-control in the presence of free birthday cake, or remembering to floss our teeth regularly, or really ever. But for all of our shortcomings, there is one flaw that has plagued gamers since the year 1958, when on one fateful afternoon in Brookhaven National Laboratory, an undergraduate student saw this on display. A game called Tennis for Two, generally thought to be the very first video game. Jerry looked at the screen. I've decided this kid's name is Jerry. Jerry looked at the screen, smiled, and thought, damn, I've got to play that. And just like that, the first Backlog was born. Gamers everywhere started noticing new stuff that they wanted to play and planned to play, but because humans require sleep and often decide to do a second playthrough of Bloodborne instead for some reason, we all find ourselves wildly outnumbered by the sheer mass of games on our wish lists. And in the years since the Jerry incident, backlogs have only multiplied. Some of us have big ones, some of us have small ones, some of us have measured hours, others are overestimating the size of theirs, many are convinced that size does not matter, some wonder if it's normal that their backlog kind of hangs to the right. This is a penis joke. But regardless, most of us that would label ourselves gamers have at least a handful of titles that we have not gotten around to yet, but would love to play in the future. And because of this, if you recommend a game to a friend nowadays, there is a strong chance that they'll say something to the effect of,
I'll put it on the list.
So what I would like to do today is tell you a story about my backlog, my master plan to complete that backlog for a video, how that plan didn't exactly work out, the surprising lesson I learned along the way, and where that leaves me now. Through that story and a little bit of research, I'd like to hopefully answer a few questions like, why does having a backlog stress me out? Why does having a backlog stress you out? Why do I ignore my backlog to play the same shit over and over? Would games that haven't come out yet technically be in your front log? Why do I let new games cut in line? If I were to actually try and charge through my backlog, how could I reasonably do it? How long would it take? Is it possible to actually finish my backlog? And more importantly, if I did, would it make me feel better? Should I even, you know what? Actually, let's start there. Would it make me feel better to finish my backlog? And that's not just a flavor question to set the tone for the rest of this video, it's a question I'm asking myself, the one with the colossal stack of unfinished titles, as I'm sitting here writing this script. Would it actually make me feel better to clear it out? And I think this is an important question because in the almost 5 years of making videos based on psych research, one thing I've learned is that perception is often much more persuasive than reality. What I mean is, the imagined piece of having finished all of the games that I want to play might be a massive relief, but actually completing this could leave me feeling like,
Well, this sucks.
That's a disappointment that I'd really like to avoid, and I'm sure you would as well. But to arrive at that answer, first we need to add that question to the backlog. Oh god. And first answer, why do backlogs cause anxiety? Do they cause anxiety? Well, recently, you see, I posted a poll asking you if having a backlog stresses you out, and although a good chunk of you said that it didn't, most of you said it did, even if only a little, which is to be expected. You know, not many of us are sitting at the house panicking because we still haven't played The Witcher 3. If this is you, just breathe. But yeah, there is at least kind of a general unease that having an unfinished backlog creates for a lot of folks. Not everyone, mind you, but for some, sort of a bad taste in your mouth when maybe you boot up a new game and wonder if this is really your best current option, or retreat to a comfort game simply because you can't decide, which further pushes away your ultimate goal. Those unfulfilled titles sort of breathe down the back of your neck, and I think that's almost certainly, partially, probably, maybe a little bit due to something called the Zeigarnik Effect, which is something I've definitely never talked about before. Way back before the era of the backlog in the 1920s, Russian psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik ran a series of experiments with both children and adults, where she would give them puzzles and other little tasks. She would allow half of the participants to finish what they were working on and made the other half stop in their tracks halfway through. Guess which group we're talking about. And do you know what happened? The subjects that were interrupted remembered much more of what they were working on than those who got to complete their tasks. When things were left incomplete, they were left stuck in the people's noggins almost like an earworm, a song in your mind that you can't seem to get off repeat. Unattended notifications on your phone are distracting for the same reasons. If something is left unfinished, we have a tendency to... So anyways, the Zeigarnik Effect is the real deal, and it's been replicated in research over the years. It's used in advertising, it's used in educational settings. There is research suggesting that in some situations, it can even impair your sleep. Again, buddy, deep breaths. And I think it is a pretty substantial factor in the stress that the backlog causes for a lot of us. As soon as we've seen that trailer, played that demo, heard a friend sell us on it, and decided we're going to be picking it up, that's generally enough to make a game feel like a loose end. And so long as it sits collecting dust, it'll be tough not to think about it when we're spending time playing anything else. So, another mystery solved. The backlog dread, if you do have it, comes from the fact that humans by nature like for ends to be tied up. Our brains crave that sweet, juicy completion. Now, how we define that completion is likely very much up to you and your personality. I am happy once I roll credits, see the story to its end, or just feel like I've had my fun. Others are not happy until they've grinded for every ending, every side quest, and every secret boss. Some of us are completionists. We can't tick that box and finally forget about a game until we've done everything. These people, I'd bet. Some of us are free spirits and can comfortably wander from title to title, spending as much or as little time as we like on each without a care in the world. As soon as it's not fun, they move on. This is probably you. And a lot of us, myself included, fall somewhere in the middle. As far as why we are this way, well, those videos have already been done, but this is probably why the backlog does or does not rustle your jimmies. Toss in a little bit of choice paralysis from your backlog being so stacked that you can't decide where to start, and it's no wonder you either settle for the same games on repeat or hop on whatever just came out because it's new, shiny, and everyone else is talking about it. And boy, is there ever some new stuff out there. Any given month, there is an absolute deluge of new games constantly trying to wash away your time and paycheck. And as we all know, the rate at which new games drop and the rate at which you discover old games you've yet to go back and catch up on wildly exceeds the rate at which any sane adult with a full-time job or school can complete them or afford them. And I don't say that without evidence. Because my master plan to tackle my backlog was to properly organize and complete it in 1 year's time. After compiling everything off my Steam and eShop wishlist, as well as a loose list I had running on a note on my phone, I pulled them all into a spreadsheet, did a little bit of data entry from how long to beat, and determined that my backlog would take approximately 2,400 hours to complete, which serendipitously divided by 24 hours gives us 100 full rotations of the Earth with no sleep. That's 100 days and 100 nights. I'd need 2.5 sleepless rides on Noah's Ark to finish all this. And when you factor in that right now, I'm probably only playing games for about 2 hours a day on average, that's 1,200 days. Over 3 years it would take to finish this iteration of my backlog. Because you see, How Long to Beat does not compile everything that has not come out yet. It does not compile everything that is yet to be announced. It does not take into account my abysmal aptitude for Souls games, or that Sekiro is going to take at least one Noah's Ark for me to beat. But as a YouTuber, I live for new shit to talk about. I need examples and inspiration and footage. So I was determined to get this backlog down. I stuck to my guns. I was going to stuff this thing out in 1 year's time, despite this ridiculous time estimate. But what I didn't want to do was waste time on games that I kind of added on a whim, or are, well, I hate to put it like this, but skippable. That might sound shallow, I realize, but something had to give. Therefore, to once and for all do a bit of a Thanos snap on this list and leave myself with only the stuff I truly wanted to play, I held a stream where you guys sat down with me and helped decide what to actually play in that year, to make sure I wasn't missing anything or overhyping anything.
What is this about? Hack into God? What is this game? I don't remember this at all. I put this on, this is my list? Am I the problem?
And shockingly, despite skepticism, this stream was pretty damn helpful.
Someone said Bayonetta is fine, but I really prefer DMC. Okay, which DMC do I play? Because I've been wanting to play DMC for a while.
I generally received 3 kinds of feedback. The first kind was just good, non-spoilery information on each game to let me know what I'd be getting myself into and why I would find it interesting.
Disco Elysium, somebody convinced me to play this game because I don't want to. Best writing in the history of games. That is a big statement.
The second kind was,
Daryl, play Outer Wilds already. You baboon.
And the third kind was simply folks reassuring me that the main backlog I'm working on should consist of things that I'm either genuinely excited about or are considered by most folks as can't miss.
I need something that's going to make me feel, even if that feel is like misery. I need something.
Sure, a lot of games were getting cut.
9, 6, 8, and 12. Which one stays? The rest go. Which one's it going to be?
But if I'm going to do this, I should prioritize where my energy is and where the truly special stuff lies. I can always make another smaller, sort of less urgent feeling backlog in the future. And that's what I did. Everything that was eliminated was just placed on a less exciting backlog that I felt significantly less pressure to get to. Wow, we actually cut out a ton of time, I thought to myself. This is wonderful. Instead of 2,400 hours, I'm looking at, wait, what's this I'm feeling? Is it like a strange sense of peace? No. Determination? No. Well, yes, but mostly something else. Accomplishment. I feel like I've completed something. In that moment, after the stream ended, I sat there. My bones tingled, my pupils dilated, the knotted muscle fibers in my neck eased their grip. Somehow, by organizing my backlog, it felt like I had done some of my backlog, even though not a damn thing had been played. Sure, I eliminated some stuff, but it was still a year's worth of work ahead. What was happening here? 2 weeks later, and that time delay is an important distinction, by the way, because I did not know this when I first streamed. 2 weeks later, I sat down to begin researching for this video and came across this little study. What the researchers did here was take people and divide them into 3 groups. They asked one group to recall 2 tasks that they really needed to get done, an errand, an assignment, something important. They did the same with the second group, except they were also asked to make a plan for how they intended to complete that task. And the third group was told, hey, tell us about 2 tasks that you've already done. This was the control group. And what the researchers discovered is that the group who was most distracted and burdened by the Zeigarnik Effect were the folks who recalled unfinished errands, but were not prompted to come up with a plan. Both the group that planned and the group that was finished showed no issues with focus or distractions on a reading comprehension test afterwards. As the writers note, committing to a specific plan for a goal may therefore not only facilitate attainment of that goal, but may also free cognitive resources for other pursuits. Once a plan is made, the drive to attain a goal is suspended, allowing goal-related cognitive activity to cease and is resumed at the specified later time. In essence, by properly organizing my backlog, I suddenly didn't feel this massive drive to get it all done. I didn't feel paralyzed anymore. It was as if having a plan pardoned me from the pressure. Everything was no longer begging to get played all at once. The next day, I started God of War for the first time, and I have been loving it. I started playing AI The Somnium Files on a break while writing this. It's a trip. Outer Wilds is on the list, I promise, but the point here is, making a plan alleviates some of that pressure, and I think the reason is because it tricks your mind into feeling like you've just made progress. It's why if you've ever gotten your homework out, opened it, set it in front of you, and planned to start it any second now, it kind of relieves the guilt of not being done. You've taken a step. Your mind goes,
Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
It's procrastination, but a safe dosage that you can use as a tool to help you focus and prioritize. Which leads me to the biggest lesson I can give you today if you too suffer from, oh God, how will I ever play it all? Make a list, plan it out, decide what is actually on your backlog. And if you're telling me, oh, I've already tried that, why must you lie to me? Survey says that only about 12% of you have properly done this. I guess some of you only count what you own, but you know damn well there is stuff that you haven't bought yet that you're thinking about. In fact, if you like min-maxing and want to do something really clever, you can take a page out of my buddy Jimmy Stewart's playbook. Jimmy is one of my Patreon backers, and he shared with me his method for categorizing his backlog, and it's kind of cracked. Basically, he takes Metacritic scores and divides them by how many hours How Long to Beat estimates it'll take, effectively arriving at a quality per hour of gameplay figure. Not everyone will vibe with this approach, and that's fine, but it just goes to show that if you get creative enough, you can find ways to narrow down what you want to play and actually start playing them. So make a list, man. Do it for Jerry. It's what I did, and I went from an estimated 2,400 hours to a measly 1,600 hours. Oh no. Can I take you on a trip down memory lane? Around 4 years ago, I watched a streamer named Etika play a game called Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It was one of the most scattered, unorganized, unpredictable series of streams I think I've ever seen. One moment you wanted to slap this man square in the face for stalling, the next you'd be grinning at your screen like a moron when something like this happened.
Constantly farming this MVP up. Anyway, so I've been constantly
Maybe you were there as well, and if you were, you already know the unprecedented levels of boneheaded degenerate tomfoolery that took place. Watching it all back, not all of it has aged that well, but there is one image from those streams that has remained with me all these years later. In Etika's final Xenoblade 2 stream, he finishes the game. Lots of yelling took place, lots of tears were shed, lots of realizations were had, but to me, the most memorable moment was likely the quietest one. Credits have rolled, he has reloaded the title screen, the controller has been set down, a small river of chat messages and donations have been left unattended like a spilled drink, and he's just sort of taking it all in, breathing, reflecting on the journey it's been, realizing it's finally come to an end, and processing all of the emotions that go with that. And let the record show, Xenoblade 2, not a game many people cried at, not a game many consider a masterpiece or even something they can take seriously, but in this moment, this man was truly moved by a game that you could tell meant a lot to him. Streamers often play things up for the audience, of course, but something tells me that there was no faking this. I think that this clip captures a moment we have all had at some point or another when finishing a game. Being completely and hopelessly captivated. Allowing a title, regardless of its reputation or Metacritic rating, to simply sweep you off your feet and take you on a ride like you never thought possible. And that's the kind of game I think we're all after and why it's so hard not to add things to your backlog. What if this is the one you've been looking for? You never know when a silly little video game is going to sneak up on you and hit you this hard when the credits roll, and after having experienced it yourself once and relating to it, or seeing someone else have it and then wondering what it would feel like, I think for all of us, this is what we crave. Why we game. I always think of that meme of the guy or the horse standing on the beach looking out of the water, and the caption just says, "Man." Recently, my wife Callie and I visited Yellowstone National Park with some friends, and Callie captured this picture of me dramatically looking out at Yellowstone Lake. When she showed me, my brain immediately registered the picture's memeability, so naturally I chuckled and posted it to Twitter. People understood the assignment, but I feel that. I want that. We want that. I think that is the ultimate goal of any backlog, to find the gems, to find the shit you wish you could forget just so that you could play it again blind. To be amazed that it took you this long to play it, to think, man. Etika passed away in 2019, and it hit me hard. He's the reason at the end of my videos I always say,
And of course, as usual, please have yourself a damn good one. I am out of here.
and since he's been gone, I've thought about that stream's ending a lot. His death oddly recontextualized that ending for me. Life is sometimes long, sometimes short, but it is finite, and there are only so many times in life that we get to be this completely enamored with a story, with a person, with a moment. At the risk of sounding ridiculous, the backlog might be more than just a list of games we all want to play. I think it's symbolic of the ambition to live a life we can look back on fondly. Imagine that all of the wonderful things you could ever possibly experience in life were suddenly on a list sitting in front of you, and it was up to you to make them all happen. When we view life like that, there is almost a desperation to do it all. That list has an end. If it's too long, we won't get to it all. If it's too short, we didn't make the most of our life. If we aren't careful, that ambition to live our best life can sour and turn into an apprehension and a fear that we aren't doing enough, which of course distracts from the actual goal. These are the things that went through my mind when I realized there was still 1,600 hours after all that cleanup, especially considering that that doesn't include all the new games I want to play in the next year that haven't come out yet. This is where it all went terribly wrong. I look calm on stream, but inside, I am having a nuclear meltdown. All hope is evacuating my body. Dread in the form of corium burns its way deep into my soul. However, I am still very much doing this. Yes, making a list helped. Yes, this is a dumb idea. Yes, by rushing through these games, I might be ruining the experience for a few of them. Or at least, I thought that. But not anymore, and here's why. One of the biggest lessons I've learned in the past year is that not finishing games, for me at least, is okay. Confession. I never rolled credits on Neon White. I never finished Metroid Prime when I started it for the first time last year. I never finished Axiom Verge. I never finished Axiom Verge. I have not finished a lot of things, and the reason for that is, if I really wanted to, I would have. The fact that I didn't tells me all I really need to know. Now, that said, they were all delightful in their own way, especially Neon White, but I just kind of had enough. And oddly, that doesn't bother me now, even if it did a little bit then. I had my fun, I look back on them fondly, I'm glad I put in the hours of each that I did, and that can just be that. As much as I want this, not every game will be that, and that's completely and totally fine. It makes the games that are that much more special. So although 1,600 hours when you split over 365 days comes out to just over 4 hours per day and gets fugly after you factor in all the upcoming stuff, it might not even be close to that if every 50+ hour game doesn't hook me. I don't have to beat everything. That is a piece I'm allowing for myself. Don't get me wrong, I don't plan to just try 30 minutes of each one and dip. I'm going to give each game the same chance I gave Persona 5 and its Gone with the Wind-ass tutorial, but I'm also going to trust the fact that if I want to keep playing a game, I will, and if I don't, that's completely kosher and is supposed to happen, which is a lesson maybe you can take away from this as well. Don't feel like everything you play has to get finished if you aren't feeling it. Don't let the sunk cost fallacy get you. Shelve it and move on. With that said, I am absolutely still doing this. I can make it happen in 1 year's time, and come next November, come hell or high water, I will be posting how I did it. Because you see folks, this is only part 1 of 2 videos concerning the backlog. There will be another full episode a year from now. I'll take you through what I learned, what I played, what was disappointing, what was a delight, if I had any of these moments, and if I was able to actually clear it out. There are currently 84 games on the final backlog, an estimated 1,629 hours of work. I arrived at that figure by taking the how long to beat time for the main story and the main plus extra time, and guesstimating for each game individually that it would take me somewhere between those 2 figures based on the game genre and what I know about myself. Souls games will take me longer. I usually skip most of the side stuff in RPGs, etc, etc. In addition to the 84 games with time estimates, I have another tab of 29 games that have yet to release. Obviously, no time estimates exist for these yet. As the new games come out, I'll make a decision to either skip them or add them to the master list based on how well my progress is going at that time, if the game bombs at release, if the game still looks like something I'll be interested in, if that game is called Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, if that game looks better or worse after finishing Danganronpa 2, and if that game is called Hollow Knight Silksong. This is a flexibility I'm allowing for myself, because there are obviously some on here that will be day oneers for me, but tackling this is going to be tough as hell, so I'm only truly committing to the main list. As I play games, I'll be writing my thoughts and potentially basing video ideas around them. There's no time off here. I know you want that Outer Wilds video next year, and most importantly I feel, I'll be taking some data points. Right now I have time estimates and my excitement for each game on a 10-point scale recorded. But as I play, I'll note if I rolled credits, how long I actually spent on the game, a rating out of 10, why I either dropped it or finished it, and if it absolutely blew me away, to see how many gems are hiding on here. I'll also be comparing my initial excitement scores with my final reviews. If my excitement was low but my rating was at least 3 points higher, that will get labeled a stunner, the pleasant surprises. If the opposite is true of the rating, I'll label it a letdown. I'll also record, if I finish the game, whether I felt as though it was too long or not long enough. If I'm being honest, I'm not sure exactly what the takeaway from all this data will be, but I'm hoping that by the time next November comes, this will provide some interesting talking points from someone who is actually bonkers enough to try this. Oh, hey, through the wonder of technology, if you're interested, this document containing my backlog will be in a viewable Google spreadsheet that I will be updating regularly. The titles highlighted in blue are what I'm currently playing. If it's green, I am finished, and you can see all the data as well. I'll drop a link to it in the description below if you want to check up on my progress throughout the year. I'll also be posting updates to Twitter in case that strikes your fancy. Oh my god, it's just hitting me how much work this is gonna be. To answer my original question of would clearing the backlog actually make me feel better, I simply do not have an answer. Sure, making a plan or a list might help. Maybe the Zeigarnik Effect can help us understand why having all these unfinished games fills some of us with existential dread, but to answer the real question here, I only see one way to find out. I have to enter the belly of the beast. I have to walk that path. And whether I fail or succeed, I'm obnoxiously interested to see who or what I become in the pursuit of that goal. And I know I've gotten caught up in the task of tackling the backlog today, but we cannot overlook how thrilled I am to actually rip off the band-aid and play some of these games. I'm finally going to get to throw hands and yarn them and pull my hair out at some Bloodborne. Outer Wilds hasn't been recommended to me 100 times by accident, and I'm optimistically terrified to say that I have absolutely no clue what I'm getting into there. 13 Sentinels is supposed to be mind-boggling. I finally get to go back and play Paper Mario 64. I get my first taste of DMC, Resident Evil, and Mass Effect. I get Stellar Blade, which is basically Bayonetta but with more anime and less voice acting controversy. Chrono Trigger, Nier Replicant, Prey, Tunic, Lisa, Fury, Ultra Kill, The Stanley Parable. I am going to be absolutely feasting in 2023, and come this time next year, I can't wait to tell you all about it. Thank you so very much for watching today. It was a delight to hop into this topic that I've been thinking about for, honestly, years now. I thought about quietly just knocking down my backlog as quick as I could, but it made more sense to bring you all in and share what I learn along the way, so I hope you had fun with this one. If you'd like to support the show, definitely consider contributing on Patreon. For $1 a month, you get your name listed in the credits here, bonus streams, bloopers, creative input, and weekly updates on what I'm working on. Link in the description and on screen in a moment after I give a special thanks to this month's featured patrons. Elise Fires, Strike, Miguel, Jojor, Thomas Breedenfeld, Sharon R.H., Alexander Yaws, and Jaron Clark. Thanks again. Let me know in the comments if and how you plan to attack your backlog. Like, share, subscribe, and please have yourself
Damn good one.